Hello everyone, and welcome to another Genshin lore video. Today, I'll be going over the lore of the Harvisptokhm and its origins in the Girdle of the Sands. I'll be going over the lore presented in the Vourukasha's Glow artifact set, as well as a few other pieces of lore. Also, if you like the video, consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, let's move right on and get into the video. A long time ago, the nation of Sumeru was ruled by 3 god kings. They were Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, King Deshret, and Nabu Malikata. Although they lived during the Archon War, they did not fight each other. Instead, King Deshret chose to share his throne with the other 2 gods, which led to an era of peace in Sumeru. However, this peace would not last forever. King Deshret was ambitious, and would often tell the Goddess of Flowers, Nabu Malikata, about his plans and ideas. He wanted to overthrow the rule of Celestia, and even went so far as to decline the gnosis that they had offered to him. Now, even though Nabu Malikata was aware that she would die if she helped King Deshret with his plans, she went along with them. Of course, Nabu Malikata soon ended up dying, which led King Deshret to descend further into madness, seeking out forbidden knowledge and working on the Golden Slumber. Seeing this, Greater Lord Rukkhadevata left his side and went to a small corner of the desert, in which she created a beautiful rainforest. As time passed, King Deshret would eventually die as well, and the tyrants of many cities around the desert would rise and fall, leaving Rukkhadevata as the only one of the 3 god kings left. However, before Nabu Malikata passed away, she gifted Rukkhadevata with a shard of Kavarina. She told her to protect the shard and keep her safe until the day when the dark abyss would rise to drown all life. That day would of course be the Cataclysm, which Nabu Malikata had foreseen in a nightmare. Nabu Malikata also talked to the shard, asking her to prevent the coming of the faceless nightmare that she had witnessed. She told her that she would find her destiny in that nightmare, as long as she was not afraid. She then would give the shard to her new mother, Rukkhadevata. After both Nabu Malikata and King Deshret had passed away, Rukkhadevata would take this shard of Kavarina and shape it into a new form. This form was of a divine bird, and would be known as Simurgh. Rukkhadevata would charge her with the protection of 2 worlds, and with the guardianship of the border between new birth and death. Simurgh would stay by Rukkhadevata's side for many years, helping to protect the rainforest. It was said that she lived amongst the pines, the cypresses, and the snow lotuses of the rainforest. She also slumbered in dreams as well, which were said to recall a time when the Covenant still endured. Once again though, these peaceful times would not last. 500 years ago, the Cataclysm would begin, and all of Teyvat would be affected. As I said, this event is the faceless nightmare that Nabu Malikata had witnessed. The Grey Death and forbidden knowledge began to spread, with the 7 Archons being forced to step in to stop it. The 7 would be summoned to Tunigi Hollow, located in northwestern Sumeru. Many of them would fight their way all the way down to Conria, but not everyone made it that far. The previous Hydro Archon, otherwise known as the Lord of Amrita, would be killed by abyssal forces at Tunigi Hollow. After her death, her body would be transformed into a pool of pure dew known as the Amrita. However, because she was stained by corruption, she was unable to be reborn in a purer plane. So, Greater Lord Rukkhadevata would grow the Harvisptokhm from the Amrita, which allowed the Lord of Amrita's consciousness to remain anchored to the mortal realm. The giant lotus at the center of the Harvisptokhm is known as the Gaokarina, and is where the Lord of Amrita's consciousness slumbers. Now, the Lord of Amrita was unfortunately not the only god to perish during the Cataclysm. Greater Lord Rukkhadevata would die as well, as she was polluted by forbidden knowledge. The pollution caused by forbidden knowledge had spread alongside the Cataclysm, and had even invaded Irminsul. Of course, Rukkhadevata was Irminsul's avatar, meaning it polluted her and killed her as well. Before she died though, she realized that her existence must be completely erased from Irminsul, as it would still remain and pollute Irminsul after her death. At the end of the Sumeru Archon quests, Nahida would successfully remove her existence, saving Sumeru from the curse of forbidden knowledge. Interestingly though, the book The Folio of Foliage says that the Gyao-Karina, where the Lord of Amrita's consciousness slumbers, is also the remains of Rukkhadevata. However, this hasn't been stated anywhere else, so it isn't fully confirmed at the moment. Anyways, after the deaths of the Dendro and Hydro Archons, abyssal pollution would continue to spread, even putting the pure Amrita at risk. Seeing this, Simurgh would take action and face her destiny. After all this time, she would finally leave the embrace of her three mothers to sacrifice herself for the world. The mother of Verdure, Rukkhadevata, the mother of Sweet Dew, the Lord of Amrita, the mother of fresh flowers, Nabu Malikata. Simurgh would fly into the pool of Amrita, then shatter her divine form, cleansing it of the dark impurities. Simurgh's divine form would become countless motes of Kavarina, which helped in the purification. Eventually, these sentient Kavarina would become the beings we know as the Pari, who defend and worship the Harvisptokhm as their god. During the Kavarina of Good and Evil questline, we assist the Pari in purifying the Harvisptokhm and the Amrita once more. Now, there are a few other interesting things in this artifact set that I want to bring up. First, I want to talk about the Harvisptokhm. While the Pari worship it as their god, it actually has influence from 3 different gods. These 3 gods are also the 3 mothers of Simurgh, who I mentioned earlier. The Gyao-Karina is supposedly Rukkhadevata's remains, and also is where the Lord of Amrita's consciousness slumbers. Nabu Malikata's Kavarina power is what purified and protected the tree, as both Simurgh and the Pari. While it is interesting that all 3 of these gods had influence over it, only one has a consciousness that still remains. Of course, that is the Lord of Amrita, the previous Hydro Archon. I've talked about her quite a bit recently, as I'm very excited for the release of Fontaine and how the story will play out. Now, I think it would be very interesting if we travel back to the Harvisptokhm and Fontaine's story, either during the Archon quests or during Focalor's story quest. Zurvan, the first Pari, tells us that the Lockfolk once came here in search of their former god, but then spread across Teyvat after seeing what remained of her. It would be pretty cool if we travel alongside Focalor here to try and get her to see eye to eye with the Lockfolk or something like that. Anyways, there is one more thing I want to mention. Throughout the artifact set, a flowery sea or sea of flowers is mentioned multiple times when talking about Simurgh's sacrifice. This could be referencing the sea of flowers at the end, seen in the Travail trailer, perhaps suggesting that Simurgh's action helped change fate, saving Teyvat from being consumed by forbidden knowledge. It could also simply be a reference to her mother, Nabu Malikata, who is the goddess of flowers. However, I think it is most likely that this flowery sea is referring to the Pari, who were born from Simurgh's sacrifice, as one instance says that a glimmering sea of flowers was born from her actions. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the Vourukasha's Glow artifact set and the story of Simurgh and her mothers. Once again, this artifact lore is getting me very excited for Fontaine, and I can't wait to share more ideas with you all. Currently, I have 4 videos in my Fontaine speculation miniseries, and I'll also be starting to make shorts on smaller speculation topics for Fontaine as well. Of course, I'll have shorts on other topics too, including lore and theories from Genshin, Star Rail, and maybe more. I'm very excited to share this with you all. I've also made videos on the Goddess of Flowers, the Sea of Flowers, and the other artifact set from 3.6, Nymph's Dream, if you want to know more about those as well. I would love to hear what other bits of lore you'd like me to cover in the comments below as well, though. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.